ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com. Welcome back into the Great Scott Show, the Great Sports Callers Open Think Tank. On the program now, as promised, he joins us every year, the week leading up to the Super Bowl. He is a Ragin' Cajun. He's got his name and number over on the wall at Cajun Field. He played in the NFL for 15 years. And he is our guest right now, Brandon Stokley. Brandon, how are things over in Colorado?
Things are great. It's a beautiful, sunny day today. And you know what? I look forward to our yearly chat that we have the week before the Super Bowl. So I'm glad that you gave me a call, and I'm looking forward to it.
Love it, Brandon. Appreciate the time. Well, you're on 1420 now, but you're on 104.3 The Fan in Denver. You're a co-host there, doing radio. Now that you're, I guess, technically a member of the media, do you feel any different about sports talk radio guys than you did back when you played?
Yeah, they're a lot smarter now. No doubt about it. You know what? I didn't really listen to it when I played. I tried to stay away from a lot of the media talk, whether good or bad. I just try to focus on doing my job. So I know that, you know, I always realize that the media, they had a job to do, and they have opinions that they have to express, and that's kind of what I'm doing now. You know, I've transitioned to that other side, but I really have enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, and enjoying just every day talking sports, talking Broncos, and NFL.
What's the most common question you get asked from callers about your career? Like, whether it be on the radio or whether it just be when you're out and about and somebody recognizes you?
You know, I think they double take when they realize. I think they think I should be 6'3", 220 pounds, and I think, you know, when they have a hard time comprehending that I played 15 years in the NFL at such a small stature. How did I do it? That's kind of the question. How'd you do it? How'd you go over the middle and take some of those hits and play as long as you did? But it's been fun. I actually have more people come up to me now that I've been doing the radio show and want to talk Broncos and NFL than I did when I played. So it's been nice. It's been a lot of fun.
So what do you tell them when they ask, hey, how did you do it? I mean, 15 years, that's a lot longer than the average NFL career in terms of length, Brandon.
I tell them I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. You know, I'm just very fortunate, right? Really blessed. Had a lot of things go my way, and tried to do things the right way. But, you know, I learned early in my career that if I wanted to survive, you have to try to avoid some of those big hits. And so I guess I got better at that as my career progressed. But I do. When I watch the games and I see some of the hits those guys take, I really don't know how I did it.
Well, Brandon Stokley, our guest, how is your body feeling today, Brandon? I mean, I always talk to players and ask how they're feeling. I talked to Keo Spikes earlier this week. He said he feels great, and he still has the biggest traps of anybody, even if he was still playing. but how do you feel physically? Because, I mean, you did have a number of injuries during your career. I mean, that's natural for a guy that plays 15 years.
Yeah, I definitely had my fair share of injuries. You know, right now, I mean, my knees and everything is feeling pretty good, I guess. But you're concerned about 10 years down the line as far as your body is concerned, whether it's going to hold up or not. But right now, the body, shoulders, knees, it's doing pretty good. You know, I think I'm just used to those aches and pains, and you kind of, like when you play football, you learn how to deal with those things, and I'm going to have certain things that I have to deal with for the rest of my life, and that's part of it. So, you know, we'll see, I guess. In 10 or 15 years, hopefully I don't get a lot worse.
Did you, I mean, but even at a young age, did you realize that going in? Like, look, there's risk involved here. Like, I guess what I'm asking, Brandon, where do you stand when you hear former players saying, look, you guys didn't tell us enough, or at the same time, look, we knew there was a risk. I mean, this is a physical game.
Right. Well, you know, if you're talking about just your injuries, your knees or your ankles or shoulders, you know, yes, I think everybody realized there was a risk. Now, when you're talking about concussions, to me that's a different because they hid information, and that's come out that they knew information of long-term effects, and they didn't tell it to the players. And to me, that's wrong. That's not right. When you know information, you know that there could be long-term effects that come with these concussions, and you don't let your players know all the facts and give them everything that they need to know. And if they want to continue, then it's on them. And we weren't. And so would I have done things differently? I don't know. I can't tell you right now because I can't go back in time.
But you certainly would have.
And certainly it's frustrating when you realize that NFL had information and they kept it from the players.
No question about it. And for the record, Brandon, I'm with you. I agree with you. And I always, down here, obviously, with the Saints and in regards to Bountygate years ago, I've always said, look, the NFL, they knew that stuff like that, hey, you hit the quarterback hard enough, you get 100, but whatever it might be. They know stuff like that's going on. They just have to put on this fake face and act like, oh, no, safety's our number one concern, because they had over 1,000 lawsuits on their desk in New York in relation to concussions and how they hit it. So I think the idea of them constantly going out and saying it's all about player safety probably falls on deaf ears, especially for guys that played as long as you did and didn't get all the info that you deserve to get.
Yeah, when you look at the Saints situation, I definitely feel bad for them. And I've done a 180, I guess, on this Tom Brady situation. I think people see it. People realize that when you give Roger Goodell so much power, he's going to look out for the bottom line, and that's the money, and that's the cash, and whatever it takes to generate more revenue, he's not going to let anything stand in that way. And if it's making an example out of somebody, like he did with the Saints, when like you said, that's been going on, right? I mean, that was going on everywhere, where guys were getting paid for big hits and things of that nature. And but the Saints were just, unfortunately, they had to be made the example of. The same thing with Tom Brady. It just got to the point to where it was out of control, and Roger Goodell has all the power, so he can do what he wants. And it's a shame, but as a player, you realize that the NFLPA, we gave the NFL and Roger Goodell all that power. We let him have that power. So now you're kind of you're stuck. But it's right now, the power that he has and what he's done with it, I think a lot of people are realizing that it's wrong. And from a player standpoint, and from a former player standpoint, I think that needs to be addressed in the near future.
Brandon Stokely, our guest, ESPN1420.com. Brandon, you said you kind of done a 180 in terms of how you view some. I'm sorry, you mentioned that you've kind of done a 180 in terms of some things as far as how you feel about the Patriots. You never hid your feelings about the Pats. I think we talked to you last year, maybe the year before, and you felt like, it's always something with this franchise, whether it be Spygate, whether it be Deflategate. So how do you feel when folks refer to them as the best franchise in the NFL, and how have your feelings changed about them as a franchise since the last time we talked?
Well, I think they definitely did some things in the past. There's no question about it that crossed the line. I think from that, obviously. And, they do some things as far as from a coaching standpoint that you saw a couple years ago against the Ravens where just some tricky tactics, and some people are saying it's cheating. You know what? Hey, they just work hard. They really do. They do a good job. They win a lot. I do think that they've done some things in the past, obviously, that I don't agree with, that I think are wrong. But I think in this case, in this instance with Tom Brady, I think that the NFL went out of its way and just got stuck into a situation to where it couldn't get itself out of and save face. And so, you know what? At the end of the day, Roger Goodell has the power, and so you got to live with what he says, whatever it may be. And do I think Tom Brady deserved that? No. And I've become more of a fan of his since I've kind of taken a step back and looked at everything that he had to go through and the NFL put him through. I think it's a shame. I think it's a disgrace to the NFL that they did what they did to him. And it's unfair. It really is. But as a player, you don't really have any rights, which is a shame. I mean, he did everything he could. And there's really no proof, no evidence there of what he did. But the NFL got caught into it, and it was a PR nightmare for him, and that was the only way out. And they'll go to all ends to keep the money flowing and to save face, and that's what happened in this case.
Brennan, you mentioned keeping the money. That's the bottom line, obviously. What do you think the biggest factor was in the ratings taking? Look, it's still the most watched sport, okay? But there was, undoubtedly, I mean, proof is in the pudding, there was a substantial ratings drop this year after years of it getting bigger and bigger each year. What do you think the biggest factor was, in your opinion?
I think it had to do with the political stuff that was going on. The presidential race obviously hurt it a little bit, and the product, right? The product on the field wasn't quite as good. And Thursday night football. Listen, you have football all week now, so it's not special anymore. Monday night football is not as special as it used to be. If you don't have a good product out there, people aren't going to watch it. And I do the same thing. If the game stinks, I turn it off. I'm watching something else, or I'm on my phone, and I think that's another big factor. You can follow it on your phone and go to whatever ESPN.com and follow the game and see the score and check your updates, check your fantasy team. So you don't have to watch the game live to get your fantasy updates and to see the score, to see what's going on. You can be doing other things and just get quick updates. So I think that hurts it. If the game's not good, people aren't going to watch it anymore. There's a lot of other things for people to do besides watch football if it's not a good product. And I think the NFL realizes that, and they realize, hey, we got to keep a good product out on the field, and we can't just put games on Monday or Thursday and people are going to watch anymore.
Brandon Stokely, our guest, former Agent Cajun, 15 years in the league, A-plus analysis right here on ESPN1420and.com. Super Bowl week, Brandon, you got 2 Super Bowl rings, played in Super Bowl 35, and what your second year in the league. Obviously, you've been asked a lot about scoring the first touchdown in the game. Take us through that play. Were you the first option on it? What's going through your head when you're coming out of the huddle? Do you say to yourself, do you see something the Giants are doing and say, all right, I got a touchdown right here?
I probably wasn't the first option. We had Shannon Sharpe on the other side playing tight end, and so I'm sure he was the first option. I probably was the 4th or 5th option on that play. But no, the play is called, and I broke the huddle, and it was double left, double pump. And when I saw the coverage, I realized that I had a good chance. And it was one of those coverages where my receiver coach had talked about during the week. If you get this coverage, this is how you need to run it. And what they were doing was they were bracketing the 2 inside guys, which is me and Shannon Sharpe. So they're pretty much double teaming us. And so when I saw the coverage, I knew, hey, I got Jason Sehorn. He's on my outside shoulder. I have to worry and focus on beating him, and the quarterback will beat the other guy that's covering me on the inside. And that's what I did. And my receiver coach had me prepared. I was ready for it. I saw it. I knew it. And so when I got to the line of scrimmage, I knew what I was going to do. I knew what I had to do. And Trent Dilfer did a great job of looking the safety off. And Shannon Sharpe ended up, I think one of the guys kind of busted the coverage a little bit. So he ended up having 3 guys on outside Jason Sehorn, luckily. And Trent Dilfer did a great job, like I said, looking left. And he threw a great ball down the seam. And, it's one of those moments where I saw the ball in the air, and it's like, don't drop it. And it's like, oh, my goodness, I can't believe I caught this. This is awesome. And then it's like, wow, I'm so close to the end zone. I got to get in. And then you get in the end zone, and it's a feeling that you can't even imagine. Spending, growing up in Lafayette, Louisiana, and then 2 years later after graduating from school there, I'm playing in the Super Bowl and catching a touchdown. All those thoughts go through your mind, and it was just one of those moments that I never thought would happen. Just couldn't even imagine something like that happening, and it was special.
You guys had players. You mentioned Shannon Sharpe, Jonathan Ogden, one of the best offensive linemen in NFL history. Jamal Lewis. Did you guys? I mean, Jermaine Lewis, such a good, scrappy guy, good special teams player, good receiver. Quadri Ismail. Did it bother you guys ever when you heard, oh, man, it's just all defense? Their offense is lackluster. Their defense is the best. Because, yes, Baltimore's defense in 2000 was the best in the league. You guys, I felt like, never quite got credit for the playmakers y'all had, though.
Yeah, we had some playmakers, but, let's face the facts. We stunk. We went 4 games without scoring a touchdown.
So it doesn't bother you. It's reality to you.
5 games. And we won 3 of them.
Right.
So that, we weren't very good. We did have some good players, though, and we kind of got on a roll there later in the season to get some momentum and find our identity. You know, we're a running football team. Let's control the clock and let's win the game with our defense. So we played very good complementary football with each other. But did it bother us? No, it didn't bother us. You know, we were all about winning. We were having fun. Nobody expected us to be there. And it was just an exciting time. So there was no, you know, our defense was great. Those guys, look, they never pointed fingers. We stuck together. We played together. And that's why we were able to accomplish what we did.
Yeah, McCrary, Lewis, Boulware, Saragu, so many elite players on that defense. But I love your take on it, Brandon. Like, no, we kind of stunk for a while early in the season. So hey,
we did.
It's just, and you won a Super Bowl. Brandon Stokely, our guest. All right, well, you're 2 years in the league after that. You just won a Super Bowl. You're appearing on the Craig Kilborn show after all this stuff's happening in a whirlwind.
I thought everybody forgot about it.
No, I remember. I remember you went in there, very proper Southern, yes, sir. You know, oh, hey, look, but at some point when you're getting ready to play in your third year, are you thinking, I can do this for another 13 seasons?
No. You know, I was hoping to play 4 or 5 years, and even going into my 5th year, I thought that was going to be my last year. I had foot surgery coming after my 4th year, and I went to Indianapolis, and it was my foot hurt so bad throughout the whole course of that season. I thought that was going to be it for me. But no, and then when I got older, you know, I just took it year by year, and next thing you know, I got to 15, and I looked back and I was done. So. But no, never thought I would play that long. It's so hard to do. So many things have to go your way. Like I said, very fortunate. I was around a lot of great coaches that really helped me along the way. A lot of great players that showed me how to be a professional, how to be a pro, and take care of your business, not only on the football field but off the football field. So just very fortunate to be around a lot of great people. And you know, when you get to year 11, 12, 13. Those relationships are what get you to the next level. That help you get another year playing football, is because those coaches go off to other teams, and if you've left a good impression on them, they put in a good word for you. And I know certainly for me, if I didn't have those relationships, I would never been with the Giants. I would have never been back with the Denver Broncos in 2012, and then I finished my career in 2013 with. Back with the Ravens, I wouldn't have had that opportunity either. So it's the relationships that you make, but yeah, no, never would have imagined that I would have been playing 13 more years.
Unbelievable. Brandon Stokely, our guest. Well, let me just go through one play with you. 2009, Week 1, Paul Brown Stadium, Broncos, Bengals, and looks like Cincinnati's pretty much got it in a 87-yard touchdown, but it wasn't really a Hail Mary in that it was thrown deep, and they call it the immaculate deflection. I think Roy Williams knocked somebody down. The ball bounces to you as you're on the run, Brandon, and you pull the old deal where you start running side to side in front of the end zone to tick some more seconds off the clock, and that is extremely rare. How did you think on your feet quick enough to say, all right, I'm gonna, hey, nobody's behind me. Let me do this.
Yeah, that play was just, when I look back, I just shake my head every time I think about it, because that stuff doesn't happen in football, especially in the NFL. You know, when you got 30-something seconds left or whatever it was and you're backed up, you're just literally hoping that you can get into a position to take a shot at the end zone, throw a Hail Mary or something. But to have what happened where the ball was thrown to an outside receiver, and it seemed like the whole Bengals defense went to go over there for some reason. Like you said, Roy Williams, he was a headhunter, and he took his shot at Brandon Marshall, and I think he not only took out Marshall, but he took out 3 or 4 of his guys, and then the ball just floats up in the air, and I catch it, and I start running, and I was shocked that once I caught it, nobody was around me to tackle me. And so I started running, and I was looking behind me. You know, I wasn't the fastest guy, so that's my first instinct, is to start looking behind me to see who's going to catch me. And nobody was really around, and I saw a linebacker that was chasing me stop running, just kind of quit on the play a little bit. And I said, you know what, let me just try to run some time off of this clock and go down the end line before I go in the end zone, waste 3 or 4 seconds. And So it just kind of popped in my head as I was running, and so I did it. And one of the defensive coaches afterwards, he's like, "Great job. We appreciate that 3 or 4 seconds. You don't know how much that means to our defense." Instead of going back out on the field with 12, 13, 14 seconds left, there's only 8 seconds on the clock. So just one of those plays I actually had nightmares about afterwards, thinking, well, what if somebody was behind me that I didn't see, that I didn't notice, and would have came and hit the ball out from me and I fumbled it, you'd have been in the bloopers reels for the rest of your life. So there was some times there where I did have second thoughts about it afterwards, like that might not have been the smartest thing to do.
But at some point the nightmares go away because it happened and everybody's sort of I love that. You have PTSD even though it didn't happen.
Right.
You're Brandon Stokely, our guest. A few more for you, Brandon. Your second Super Bowl you were a part of, you weren't able to play in the game due to injury. Missing a game due to injury, that wasn't new for you, but being that it was the Super Bowl, that's got to make things more difficult, right? Not being able to play in that one.
Yeah. It was so tough, so difficult, especially being in a place like Indianapolis. I got there, Peyton Manning's early in his career, right, and he was just kind of coming onto the scene. We won our first playoff. We won his first playoff game my first year there. So I kind of saw the whole thing through, and we built this team, and we finally – the year before we had a better team, and that was our year, and we just didn't play a good game against Pittsburgh in the playoffs and lost that game. And then the next year, we finally get to the Super Bowl, and being injured and not being able to be a part of it, I tell you, that was probably the most disappointing year, obviously, of my career, just to finally reach that point and be in the Super Bowl with that group of guys that we worked so hard to get to that moment and not being able to be a part of it. That hurt. I mean, it really did, and it still stings today that I wasn't able to play in that game. But you know what? Hey, I was happy that they went out there, obviously, and played a great game and won that football game because there's so many good guys on that team and good relationships that we had. And we actually had our 10-year reunion this past year, so went back there for that, and it was great catching up with all the guys. But you have a bond with those guys, but not being able to play, yeah, that hurt, and it still does today.
Brandon, you just mentioned Peyton Manning. I know you guys are close friends. Aside from more commercials, what do you think Peyton's going to do next?
I don't know. I hung out with him a couple nights ago, but I really don't know. I think he's going to take this year and kind of take a step back and evaluate everything and kind of get some experience doing a few different things and so he can make a good, educated decision on what he really wants to do. And maybe that's getting to broadcasting. Maybe that's getting in the front office. Maybe it's doing what he's doing now, giving some speeches, hanging out with the family, playing golf with me. That was my vote.
There you go.
Obviously, I like, he's here in Denver, and so he's a good golfing buddy, and I like hanging out with him. So I'm kind of voting for, hey, just relax for a few more years and hang out with me.
Just let them know, hey, look, all that other stuff's overrated. Come on, just enjoy the time. I imagine after 15 years in the league, Brandon, you miss it, but there's that part of you that's like, man, I got this radio gig. I get all this time with the family and my kids. I get to watch them play. The retirement is anybody that says it's overrated, you probably tell them they're lying, right?
Yeah, it's been good. It has. After a couple years of doing absolutely nothing, it's been nice to kind of get back into something and have something to prepare for and to get ready for. And it's not something that's very strenuous, but it's enough to get me out of the house and, like I said, something to look forward to every day. And but I've had a lot of fun doing it. I still have a lot of time with the family, and I still have my golf time. So it's been great. It has. But yeah, I mean, come on, being retired, it definitely is not overrated.
Well, Sunday's game, you've been talking about it. You've been breaking down the season. Atlanta, New England, Patriots, a slight favorite. What's your pick for Sunday's game, Super Bowl 51?
For me, it's a tough one. Atlanta's played at such a high level. I've loved what they've done with Kyle Shanahan's done with that offense. I mean, he's as good as it gets in the NFL when you look at an offensive coordinator scheming up plays and putting his personnel in the best possible positions to be successful. When I look at New England, I mean, how can you go against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? I know they've lost twice to the Giants, but I just don't think Atlanta can stop the Patriots offense enough. And the Patriots defense is underrated. They're number one in scoring defense in the league. They're a solid defense. They don't have really any superstars. Malcolm Butler, he's a complete stud. Now, he broke on the scene a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks, but he is a stud. He's a top 3 cornerback in the league. And all the other guys are very versatile. And that's the thing about them defensively is they're very smart players, and they use guys at different positions. Guys can play any positions. They're smart. They do the game plan to perfection, and you don't see a New England defense giving up plays where guys are just wide open from missed assignments. They're a smart football team. They are coached well, and they play hard, and they don't beat themselves. And I think that's the big thing about the Patriots, and that's why it's hard to pick against them, because other teams always self-destruct. You never see the Patriots beat themselves.
Brandon Stokely, our guest. Busy week, Brandon, over here in Lafayette, National Signing Day. The Cajuns' new AD named today, Dr. Brian Maggard. Starting with National Signing Day, what was yours like? Because everybody that follows the Cajuns knows you played for your dad, Nelson. I mean, you were a star athlete at Como, but what was there ever a decision? Was it just, all right, I'm playing at USL, that's how it is?
Yeah, I wasn't a highly recruited football player, that's for sure. I don't know if they had any stars back then. You got the 4-star, 5-star. I don't know if they had that back then. If they did, I probably would have been a 1-star or maybe a half-a-star prospect. But I don't really remember much about it. I remember at my high school, my mom and dad were there, and I signed a letter, I guess of intent is called, and I remember doing that. I don't remember if it was before or if it was on National Signing Day, so I don't remember a lot about it. It wasn't a lot of fanfare. Let's just put it that way.
And UL, new AD. I remember at the first Arnell Carey's New Orleans Bowl, I saw you on the sideline with your kids. How close do you follow the Cajuns today?
I keep track. Obviously, they're on TV a lot. I watched their bowl game this past year. They played hard. They played good. They gave themselves a chance to win. So I love the improvements that are going there facility-wise. I think they're heading in the right direction. Coach Hudd, he's doing a great job, and I think that will continue to improve. So I follow them as much as I can. I'd like to be down there a little bit more, but obviously, I'm a Cajun, and I'll be a Cajun for life. So definitely try to keep track of everything that's going on, and I love the direction that they're heading.
Last question. What's Brandon Stokely's favorite sports movie?
My favorite sports movie? I'm not really a movie guy. I don't know. I'm not a ranking guy. You'd have to give me a list, and then I could tell you. Okay, that. Yeah.
All right, so I know you enjoy golfing. So like Tin Cup, Caddyshack, Happy Gilmore. Which of those is your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, Happy Gilmore's a great one. That's a funny one. I love that. Tin Cup, that wasn't my favorite. So I don't know. I'm not a big movie buff. I'm not one of those guys that remembers every movie line. I'm jealous of those guys. They always start spitting out movie lines and that's from this movie, that's from that movie.
Don't be jealous, Brandon. We're all weird. Don't be jealous of us. We're weird.
Is that you?
I'm one of those guys, sure.
That
yeah.
Guy now.
Yeah, you don't want me to start doing Happy Gilmore because then I'll keep you another 10 minutes, and I know you're busy. You got to roll. So.
See, I'm not one of those guys, so I'm always left out of the conversation when guys start talking and doing movie lines and stuff. I'm just like, okay, nope, I don't get it. I don't know it. I'm sorry. But yeah, I wish I was. I wish I could remember movie lines, so yeah, that's the extent of my sports movies critiquing.
It's all good. Brandon Stokely has been our guest. Brandon, the best to you, your wife, the kids. Tell Peyton we said hi and enjoy the golfing with you. But thanks for the breakdown. A little bit of this Sunday's game, but we always like just catching up with you, your career, things like that. So appreciate the time, man. We know you're busy, and we'll do it again next year.
Scott, looking forward to it. Yeah, put me in the calendar for next year. Highlight of the start of my new year is always spending 30 minutes with you, so I appreciate it.
You're the man, Brandon. Thanks for the time.